Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about how the term, when it comes to training, everyone is different, is basically a cop-out to just be ignorant. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Now, I'm not saying people aren't different. I'm not saying people don't have different muscle fiber distributions, different structures, hip structures, things like that, different levers. They do. They do. But the problem we get to is that when it comes to training, people take this to an extreme that isn't true, and they do it to justify their own ignorance and inability to teach and coach others. That's when it becomes a problem. And if you're never going to teach another human being anything about training, it's okay. It's okay because it's not necessary. It's just like me. I can remain ignorant about heart surgery because I don't plan on ever performing a heart surgery on a person. That's an acceptable ignorance for me to have. And if you are never going to teach another person how to squat or bench press for the entirety of your life, and you only need to teach yourself how to squat and bench press, for example, doesn't matter, it's fine. Because once you figure out you're okay. Unless you could be doing it better, but you never learned how. And that could be a problem. And ultimately, what I mean by this, people say that and they say, well, different people respond to different rep ranges. No, they don't. Where do people get nonsense like that? No, they don't. Tension is tension, load is load. Maximum recoverable volume might vary from a person. But you know what? That's not because some of these things aren't because every person is different. It's because you change over time. Meaning two different people might be at the same place at a given point later that are at different points and different times as far as things like maximum recoverable volume, minimum effective volume, fatigue management, things like that. But those are dynamic. Those aren't things that vary from person to person. Those are things that vary within the same person over the weeks and months and years. Right? But when it comes to basic exercises, people say, well, this exercise doesn't work for me, or I struggle with this lift and I can't do this. Well, do you have some injury that's causing it? If you don't, then that's probably not true, barring a few exceptions. In other words, some people can't perform a weighted dip because it can actually fracture your sternum. I get that. Some people can't safely perform a behind the neck press because of their shoulder structure. Of course, other people would argue that no person can safely do that lift. But when it comes to certain variations and things, people will say, well, I can't get my quads to grow from squats. Well, it's because you didn't learn how to squat. I can't get my pecs to grow from the bench press. Well, it's because you don't know how to bench press. Those are actually the only explanations for that. It's not that everyone is different. You're different in that you didn't learn how to perform the exercise. There's not something magical about your body. It's that you don't know how to do the lift. And if someone can't teach you how to do the lift, then they're ignorant. And that's, again, what we come to. You see, all of these people who say, well, everyone's different. So, well, that's fine until you're a fitness YouTuber saying that. If you're going to teach people this stuff and talk about it, then you better understand how to teach people. And you know what? You're going to need to figure out if you're going to perform the barbell squat, and you should be performing the barbell squat. I don't care what your training goals are. I don't care what your training goals are. What we've seen on longevity and leg strength alone is justification for saying, you know, everyone should probably barbell squat. Every human being on earth who's got legs and doesn't have major herniated discs in their back should probably be doing the barbell squat. So when we talk about variations of the barbell squat, yes, different people are different, but you need to know how people are different. If you're going to teach an exercise, it's ignorant to say everyone's just different, so they got to find what works for them. No. If you're going to teach someone, if you're going to be a trainer, you're going to be a coach, you're going to be a fitness YouTuber, you damn well need to know how to tell how people are different. You need to be able to assess a person and tell what their foot stance needs to be on the squat. How's that? You can't just say people are different. You need to be able to identify how they're different. And you need to be able to identify and fix the problems of why they can't barbell squat. And here's what I mean. Yes, foot stances vary because humans have an enormous variation in our hip structure angles, right? We know that. Been enough research on cadavers that that's understood. That is one of the biggest differences as far as human bone structure physiology, as far as it applies to biomechanics. Hips actually vary a lot. they vary a lot in people. That's if you want to talk about something that really and truly is massively different through a range of people, hip angle. That's one of the biggest ones. There's probably nothing else you're going to find that's that diverse as far as anything we're ever going to talk about with lifting. Do you know there are basic exercises you can do where you lay down and can have a person press on your legs, put you into a squat position and find where your range of motion is? So yes, everyone is different, but there are actual tests that you can perform without needing an x-ray that a human being can perform on you to help you personally find where you get your deepest range of motion on the barbell squat. Because you can lay down and find different hip angles where you can lay down on your back where a person can get the most range of motion that your hip allows for so that you can learn to go below parallel. How's that? It's that simple. But if a person is ignorant and they don't know anything about this and they don't know how to teach people, all they can say is, well, everyone's different. You just got to find what works for you. And that's unacceptable if you're an educator. Because if you're going to teach people, you're going to teach an exercise, you actually need to know this stuff. We start talking about, well, I can't bench full range of motion without my shoulders hurting. It's not acceptable to say, well, everyone's different, because they aren't that different. You need to find the bar path, and you need to find the elbow tuck position that does allow you to bench press full range of motion injury-free. Right? Not everyone is different. You need to figure out specifically what's different. And that really isn't that that arbitrary. It's not arbitrary like that. Yeah, some people have different rib cages than others. And there might be some people who have really, really long arms who are really underweight and skinny who do struggle to bench press full range of motion. Because people bring that up when I say everyone should be benching full range of motion. But then the first thing I would say is, well, why do you have a guy who's 6'1" who weighs 150? You don't think that's the problem? There's an easy solution to this. You can put that person to a body weight pretty quickly to where this problem goes away. It's called bulk. Put some size on now. Because you know what? A guy who lifts weights who's 6'1" and 150, that's the problem. No wonder that guy's tiny. No wonder that guy struggles with range of motion on the bench press. He has no chest. He has no torso. He has no body weight. In terms of the structure, something like that is simple to fix that. And, of course, finding the right bar path. But you know what? I've had to talk about that a lot in the past, too. Well, you just got to figure out how to get rid of the internal rotation. You know, that's as simple. That's as simple as just finding out where you need to place the bar to get 45 degrees of elbow tuck at the bottom. Yeah, that's going to vary a few inches from person to person. You're right, everyone's different. One person, that bar might need to be at 2 different inches lower than another person. But it's not that difficult to find. Not that difficult to teach, to explain that to people. It's really simple, guys. For most of you, it's probably going to be somewhere slightly below the nipple. Some people can get away with a little higher than others. But you know what? When in doubt, put it an inch lower. There you go. Problem solved. Yeah, everyone's different, but it's not that hard to find. And if a guy is still struggling with shoulder issues due to the range of motion, it's probably because he's really, really underweight in relation to the length of his arms and his torso size. Again, if a guy's trying to get bigger and stronger, though, he probably needs up his calories. This is, again, solvable. People aren't that different. Just in that case, that guy's only different because he's really, really, really skinny. But if we're lifting weights and we're trying to gain muscle, this is a problem that we will resolve. But you can't just use the excuse, well, everyone's different. You need to understand how to fix these problems. Unless, of course, you're not ever trying to teach another person, in which case it doesn't matter. But the thing is, I've watched this for many, many, many years in the iron game. I've watched this over the years. If you get someone who doesn't ever learn any of this stuff, and they train themselves and they do okay, they get decent results in themselves, and then they try to teach other people. And it's downright scary to watch sometimes. Like I said, this is well and good till you decide you're going to have a workout partner who you're going to teach. In which case, probably a real good idea to start understanding this stuff a little bit, because it is amazing to watch. Particularly when you have the one guy who half-ass knows what he's doing, who's now teaching 2 or 3 of his buddies in the gym. And we all see this. And as they say, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And that's where half the stupidity and ridiculousness in the gym that you see happens. Because the guy never bothers to go further than everyone is different before he starts teaching people. We need to understand these things. Because I promise you, if you sit around watching fitness YouTube, you will eventually probably try to teach someone else how to lift that's not you. And you know what? Maybe learning these things about how everyone is different, specifically how they're different, will help you do better with yourself also before you jump over and teach others. Just a thought. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.